So let's talk about what it is first. It's going to be another protein system. A lot of that going on, you can tell. There's about 20 of these proteins. They have names like C1, C2, C3. Don't confuse it with cervical vertebrae. They'll be like C5A and C3A and C3B and C5B and all these little baby proteins that split and rejoin and split and rejoin. We're not going to learn all the little horrible details. We just need to know the main players. It's going to be 3 major mechanisms. We need to know how we turn this thing on and how we do these 3 major things. Okay. Pictures are all here. The notes are pretty good, but I'm just going to try to sketch this out so you can get it up kind of all on one page again. It's that, and it looks gross. Hang on, let's get a picture here. Page. Complement system is what it's going to be called. Drop it. Gotta have a pretty picture here. Okay, we don't need fancy colors, but I might change up the see it. Okay, so let's do it this way, complement system. Remember, the questions are going to be multiple choice, and usually the answers are going to be A, C1, B, C3, C, C5A. They're going to have just a list of these proteins, and you pick which one's doing what. So you can put this on a flashcard. So at some point, we have to turn things on. I think duh would be the answer to that, but we have to do it. So we're going to learn 2 ways to turn things on. Here. Okay. It's going to be the classic style. Classic rock radio. And then over here you have your alternate station. Alternate, alternative, whatever. Not classic. It's the other one. There's a third one called a lectin on pathway that I'm not going to do. So don't need to worry about it. I'm just going to do the classic style and the alternative style. Okay, so I'm going to have to draw and erase here at the bottom, but I'll get the whole picture on here at some point. But let me show you this first part here. So here's a bacterium, and on its surface are ID tags called what? Antigens. Just going to put AG. There's that foreign thing that marks that bacterium as not me, foreigner. So really it says not me. And B cells can make a certain protein that sticks to antigens. What do B cells make that does that? Those are called antibodies. And they're big Y-shaped proteins, and they stick on things like this, antigen to antibody. Just kind of draw 2 together on one side of the guy. So we'll figure it all out eventually, but we haven't got to the B cell story. But they will make antibodies, and they will stick just like this. They could act as an opsonin. Big handle sticking out, but in this case it's going to turn on the complement system. So classically is what you're looking at. The classic system always begins with antibodies binding. You must have antibodies in the picture for it to be classic. It's initiated by antibodies. And then here's the sequence of events. When the 2 antibodies land side by side, complement protein C1 plops in between. That attracts complement protein C2 to sit on the side of him, which attracts complement protein C4 to sit on him, which then signals complement C3 to sit on him. It's not in order. It's 1, 2, 4, 3. On is C3. When you get to C3, we're on. So I'm going to put that right here. On is C3. from there, I can go 3 different directions. The way I would write it on my little notes up here, classic style involves antibody, C1, C2, C4, turn on C3. That's classic style. Must have all of those parts. And then I'm on. Once I'm on, I can do how many major things? 3. I'll draw them out in a minute, but one of them I can do is called cytolysis. One thing I can do is enhance inflammation. And another thing I can do is enhance phagocytosis. There's 3 things I'm going to be able to do once I turn on. This is one way of turning on. And then once I'm on, I got 3 different major things I can do, which I'm going to show in detail. This is the complement system. Individual proteins working with each other to get something done. This is the classic style of turning on the system. You can turn on C3 classically by using antibody C1, C2, C4. Okay, I'm going to erase the bottom here. Get back to those 1, 2, 3 major things in front. Okay, if I can anyway. Get out of there. So I know how to turn on one way. Should show pictures of this somewhere in the book. There's another way alternatively. And this one's super easy. Spontaneous generation. In the alternative system, C3 is just spontaneously generated. And that's it. There is no antibody C1, C2, C4. You just make C3. Seems a lot easier. Same thing will happen though. Once I turn on C3, I can do 3 major things. So here's the 2 ways. There's apparently a 3rd way called lectin way I don't know anything about. So you don't have to either. That's the way it's always been until last year. Okay, now we can do 3 big things, right? What were those things?
Cytolysis,
I can enhance
inflammation.
phagocytosis. Do that. And enhance inflammation. Or I can kill. Cytolysis. So now we need to just know which, there's a whole cascade of stuff that's going to happen. C3 is going to split and reform and split and reform. We don't need all those little baby proteins. We just need to know the main players, which does what. Okay, I can start on the Pac-Man side first because it's easy. C3b is the player here. And he is an opsonin, which you've already seen, but now I see it again. What do I mean by it's an opsonin? It's a handle, right? If I spray C3b, there it is. If I spray C3b all over a bug, makes them easier to grab onto, right? That's the whole point. C3b is an opsonin. By definition, it enhances phagocytosis, being an opsonin. It enhances attachment. That's that line. It's that easy on that one. So one of the major things you can do once you turn on C3 is you have C3b pop out, and C3b sticks to bugs and acts as handles so phagocytes can eat them better, right? Enhancing phagocytosis. Okay, a couple of points on the enhanced inflammation one. So let's try this first. Here's a basophil. What were those 2 H's that squirted out? Yeah, which one of those has to do with inflammation?
Histamine.
Histamine is an inflammatory mediator, right? So you can show it kind of spraying out histamine. Again, it's an inflammatory mediator. It's going to enhance inflammation. But here's the guys who do it. It's C3A and C5A. if C3A, not C3B, C3B is an opsonin. If C3A, oh, that's off the screen. C5A, just at the bottom, doesn't matter where they hook up. 3A and 5A. If both of those attach to a basophil, basophil will sneeze out histamine, an inflammatory mediator. So there's part of the story for enhanced inflammation. 3A and 5A cause basophils to secrete histamine. 5A by itself, is that on the screen? There we go. 5A by itself is a powerful chemotactic chemical. Powerful chemotactic. White cells are drawn toward this, or chemotaxis, right? It's a powerful chemotactic chemical. Promotes chemotaxis, which has something to do with the inflammatory response. So two parts to this one. C3A and 5A together stimulate basophils to secrete histamine, an inflammatory mediator, which would increase inflammation. The other part that gets forgotten about, the C5A all alone, just floating around naked, is a very powerful chemotactic chemical. Draws white cells, especially neutrophils, come over here. Okay, it's going to say all this in the notes at some point. I'm trying to throw it on one side. Okay, the third thing you can do once you turn on the system, whether you turn it on classically or alternatively, is the cytolysis thing. We usually call it the MAC attack. MAC attack. Often known as the C5 to C9 attack complex. And there's your players, C5, C6, C7, C8, C9, all of them. Often just called the C5 to C9 attack complex. So that I can kind of illustrate this in two different ways. The point is cytolysis, so I want to pop you open, I want to break us out. So picture this again. Oops, that's not big enough. There's a really cool video I saw about this, depending on your definition of cool. So, show me this game. Let's turn this thing on classically. What can I do? That is happening. What happens next?
C1,
C3. Now we're on. I can do all that other stuff, but let's do the bottom part. So I'm going to go C5, C6, C7, C8. They're going to just string out like a long crane arm. And here's my crane arm. What you can do, maybe, is you can actually picture this arm locked in place, swinging over the surface of a bacterium. There'll be more of these. If there's more antibodies here, there'll be another crane here. Swing it over all around this thing. You see these cranes moving like they're constructing something, but they're actually deconstructing. And what they do is, as these cranes are swinging their arms over, these proteins are dropped into the bug like giant pipes. And they're dropped like this, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're dropped in a ring. Pow, 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 pow. And if you do this, this guy starts to bleed out. And that's what you do. Then you swing the crane over, you pick up some more proteins, and you do it again. Pow, 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 pow. And he starts bleeding out again. And you put all these holes in him by dropping these pile drivers in him. And then he bleeds out. That's called cytolysis, or the MAC attack. This C5 to C9 attack complex. It's hard to sketch what it's doing there, but it's dropping giant pipes into the membrane so we can leak contents out. That there is enough to get all the questions right on the test. If you know what all that means, it's a good sketch. It's an easy sketch to learn to draw. Almost everything I'll ask about it is there in that picture. make sure you know what it all means. Let me take you through the slides on this and go check, see if you missed anything. Almost done, huh? There. Next time I'll do the adaptive system, and we will not start the next chapter. I'm just gonna stop when I'm done about an hour into it, and then you can sit here and study or whatever. We got a lot of stuff here in our heads, kind of backlog. Okay, let's check the notes real quick. There's the complement system. Classically, antibodies, activating the next one, then 2, then 4, and so on. Alternately, spontaneous generation. Okay. So here, if you didn't catch, look at a picture of something that makes sense, check it out here, it's probably written here somewhere. Each pathway involves a protein, break it into another, break it into another. Remember, C3 is the dude that's on, and splitting C3 initiates the other 3 pathways. One will enhance inflammation, one will promote phagocytosis, and one will cause cytolysis. There's the 3 choices once you get to C3. There it is, over here. See it all? I kind of flipped it, but C3b acts as an opsonum. C3a and 5a, it doesn't say it all the way, but there it is, enhance histamine release, but it said it was also a powerful chemotactic, C5a by itself. It'll probably say this in the notes. And then the C5, the C9 pile drivers, there's a kind of hole it will make, and then it spews out its contents. Okay, more to the point, cytolysis, C5 to C9, Big Mac attack. Here, C3b alone is an opsonum. 5a and 3a release histamines. 5a by itself, 5a by itself, powerful chemotactic. Attracts neutrophils. It's all here. This causes lots of red lines though. Remember the choices are like A, C3a, B, C5a, C, C3. And if you kind of know it, it gets all gibberish. I would be able to draw a picture like this, and I'm telling you, you won't miss anything, I don't think. It's a good one to learn. Okay. And all I'm going to say about this is a fever is nonspecific. I'm going to act on this later, but it probably won't influence your life. So I'm just going to say, hey, a fever, also known as pyrogeny, right, fire beginning. We know what it is, but I'll show it to you in another picture when it fits a little better. But it is a non-specific thing. Okay, some of the stuff we talked about here is there, some is not. Just go with what I gave you. This is for Tuesday. Done. Okay, bring questions, you got them. Test is a week from Tuesday. If you want to draw on the board or something, go ahead. If you want to grab a heart model, go ahead. Here's a really good picture of how where the spleen is and how you should not ever confuse it with a kidney that's got a head on top of it. Kidneys are always behind the spleen. This organ gets missed a lot. So if you know where the spleen is, that's all that's for. Okay. Anyway.